Hello, Professor Ulbert. This is Mike Riggins with another YouTube video. This one is on Chapter 8. The chapter is called Mental Illness. This chapter had a lot of information, and there's a lot of stuff that was very new to me, and I didn't necessarily understand it all or capture it all. But some of the things that stuck out were first the fact that people are more depressed in the summer than what's popular believe that they're more depressed in the winter. I personally have had more of the opposite experience, where I've been more depressed in winter than I ever have. The summer always energizes me here in the desert, and it warms up and gets hot. And the reason being, in the book that stated that family got together less in the summer, and that really didn't make any sense to me. I would think that more family got together in the summer, but nevertheless, that was one of the points that were made. Another point was about depression in the elderly, and it had been believed for, I guess, many years that people always thought that the elderly were more depressed, but in more recent studies they found out that it's teenagers that are more depressed. And I think with all the load that many teenagers have to carry today, and all that's going on in the world, I think if I was a teenager I'd be depressed. But I myself have went through a bout of depression. I don't know, it's been about 10 years ago, and I didn't know what I was going through excuse me, at the time. But a lot of the things that I would normally do and participate in, even though somewhere in the back of my mind I wanted to do those things, I could not physically make myself do them. I'm a person, obviously, that loves the outdoors, and these were outdoor activities that I would have done nearly all my life, some of the activities, and I just, for probably 6 months, maybe not quite a year, but I think it affected me really bad. But I think even for several years, this event that happened really set me back some. But at this point, I'm much more aware of depression. Obviously, in reading the chapter helps, and just going through depression yourself helps you kind of maybe see the effects or see it possibly coming. And so I'm today much more aware of depression and at least in my own life, how it affects someone. Also, another interesting section in the book, there was I'm not sure if he was a doctor or professor or what have you, but his name was R.D. Lang, and he felt that possibly that the mental ill were I'm sorry, I can't remember the word, but instead of them being an inferior mentally thinking, that he felt that they were more they had a more superior grasp on thinking, the thought process. And it was interesting because he brought out that most people are focused on the outward and pleasing people and just being proper and so on and so forth. And he felt that the mental ill were more focused inward on their thoughts, and they didn't really care how others felt about them, and they were able to express themselves better in that way. And he used several examples. One was a bird that was flying with a flock of other birds, and it decided to detour off and therefore avoided destruction that the rest of the flock encountered down the road. He also talked about someone sensing the presence of God, or being in the presence of God, or actually having God speak to them. And I thought in my own personal life that I could really relate to that. And of course, anyone, he said, that you would tell this to, they would think that you were mentally ill. But I know that there's been several times in my own life that I know that God has spoke to my heart. And obviously, unless you have that experience, you can hardly explain it to anyone or that they would understand. But I also liked how he allowed the patients in his care to come to his home, and the text says with very little supervision, he allowed them to have their thoughts and play out their lives in a real unfettered arena, so to speak. And the text says that many of these people were cured and recovered from their mental illness. That's about all I had prepared to say. Again, as I said, this chapter, there was a super lot in it. And but I appreciate your time and your class, and talk to you again. Bye-bye.